Welcome to the Bruins Benders podcast, season 2, episode 19, Bruins Seeing Stars with Maddie and Smitty, brought to you on the Inside the Rink podcast network, InsideTheRink.com. Here's a one-stop shop for all your NHL and PHF news, insight, and analysis. Follow on Twitter at inside_the_rink and download the Inside the Rink app to get everything on the website right on your phone. And Smitty will tell you how you can sign up for ESPN Plus.
Yeah, you should watch the Bruins on ESPN Plus by signing up on the InsideTheRink.com website. Go to InsideTheRink.com/ESPN. I have ESPN Plus, and I love all the out-of-market hockey games, college hockey, soccer, college basketball, and much, much more. So if you want to watch all those sports and, lawn darts and cornhole and shit like that, then sign up for ESPN Plus at InsideTheRink.com/ESPN.
I'm sure you'll get the pickleball championship once that gets going.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Tom Brady's into that. It's a lot of people into that right now.
Yeah.
So wanted to ask you, did you watch any of the NHL All-Star festivities?
I watched very, very briefly for a few minutes, and it really has just become a sideshow. It's not worth anyone's time. The game itself, actually, not bad, but they really need to figure out something with with all the competitions and stuff like that. It's just it's gone over the top. It's jumped the shark, all those cliches. It's a waste of time.
I didn't watch a nanosecond of it, not a second of it. And but on Twitter, I just kept seeing people talking and ripping it to shreds.
Mm-hmm.
And the bouncing back and forth, I guess, from, just from one competition to another without really finishing one to go to another. It just seemed like it was just a hodgepodge of crap in there.
I don't think it was really managed very well. I don't think they had really a plan, a direction for it. They need to come up with another format, and I'll say this, and I've said it before: outlaw all the All-Star games and just give the guys a break. Name them to the team, and then send them on vacation. And there you have it. I'm sure it's a money maker. They sell jerseys and all that crap, so they're never going to truly get rid of it. But they need to figure something else out. And my suggestion would be name them to the teams and then send them on vacation.
Yeah, I don't think anybody. I mean, it's not like it used to be where you could see other players from other teams you never saw.
Right.
Plus, you have all these options now. I mean, it used to be network TV. It was on network TV. That's all you really watched. So that's, and it was fun to have your, the whatever league on network TV at night with all the superstars. Now no one really cares. I mean, you see everybody all the time on highlights and social media and everywhere. So it just lost its luster, and the players don't want to play. The NFL's using this flag football thing. That's ridiculous. I mean, I don't understand what, I'm with you. Just get rid of it and just have an all pro type of list. If you need to, pay out the incentives and all that, fine. But I don't think you should have anything like that. And if you need to, the skills competition stinks. So if you really need to do the 3-on-3 thing, then I guess fine. Do it outdoors somewhere. Just add some novelty to it. But the whole skills competition thing, I wasn't ever really big on any of that stuff. It's an individual thing. It doesn't really matter to me. So I'm with you. I think we should just can it all.
Here's what really bothers me. Here's what really bothers me about the whole thing, though, and it's naming people to the All-Star game. This really crawls up my ass because people, first of all, they have every team has to have a representative rule, which absolutely stinks. Like just because you're on a team doesn't mean you're an all-star. You could have a team full of shitty players. Mm-hmm. And those all-star nominations or all-star appearances or whatever, those go towards a guy's resume when they get nominated for the Hall of Fame or certain award things.
They do.
So because Brad Marchand doesn't make it a few times because, the league, the the division can't have enough all-star representatives, and they're sending Drake fucking Batherson or some other clown. Scott Cooper goes twice for the Red Sox when he hit 280. Like, joke.
Yeah, it is. I'm with you. Yeah,
guys, Hall of Fame chances. Because 10 years from now, no one's going to remember, Drake Batherson went, even though Marchand was a point-a-game player and deserved to be there. He was 5th in the league in scoring last year and didn't go to the fucking All-Star game. So, you have things like this where it's like, what are we doing? It's a guy's going to be, up for induction into the Hall of Fame. And you say, oh, he was only an All-Star twice.
Yeah. That's where it really matters. You're right. And of course, in the NFL, they have the All-Pro, so they kind of look at that more than Pro Bowl, but not in these other leagues. Like in the NHL, you're right. I mean, how many times has Marchand been? Once or twice or whatever? Which is,
I think he's been twice.
Kind of ludicrous. I mean, it's and you're absolutely right, and that's where it's. I say give the players complete ownership of the whole thing. Have them. They know. Players and coaches, they know who the best players for that particular year are, and then pick all the teams, and then at least there's some ownership there, and they can have fun with it. And I think they'll be a little more into it if they did that. Having the fans do it is just stupid. I mean, then it's a popularity contest. Then it's everybody in Columbus stuffing the ballots and all that. And people in Boston really don't care about that stuff. The All-Star ballot and all that stuff. They don't care about that. They just want their team to win. But all these Yahoo places that really aren't great, loyal fan bases and really don't, just kind of love the novelty of hockey. They'll stuff the ballots. It's something to do. It's something fun. So I just think it's totally skewed in that way. And I'm with you. I just either can it or just put it all on the coaches and players to decide it. And then at least people have, like you said, a resume put together of, where, how many All-Star games they have. And then when it comes down to All-Star Hall of Fame inductions, I would like to, I haven't seen it, but maybe someone like Alexander Mogilny, how many All-Star games did he play in?
I don't know.
So if he, that's a guy, if he missed a few because of the fans didn't vote him in, I just think it's silly. So let's just be done with it. It's stupid. And it was something that 40 years ago was a thing because there's far less things to do back then. So let's just can it. All right. Weekend review time, and the Bruins back in action after taking 10 days off for the All-Star break. And they get back at it at home on February 11th against the Washington Capitals. And they lose it 2-1. They looked rusty out after the long layoff. The officiating was just borderline dreadful. And this one is incredibly inconsistent. They called what seemed like 100 penalties within 2 minutes in the first period, looking like they were just trying to get into the game after the long, like they were dying to commit penalty, to call penalties. And then basically let them play after that. But then Taylor Hall gets hit from behind, a dangerous distance from the boards with no call. Power play still needs some work there. I guess you could chalk it up to being rusty, although the Bruins kind of limped into the break as well. And then the first game back, they lose it and have to move on.
Yeah, they just looked rusty. They looked slow. They looked like they had a 10-day layoff. They looked like they may have still been on vacation, some of the guys. They just weren't sharp. And it's to be expected. Hockey is a game where you need to get into a rhythm. You need to play at game speed. And if you're missing out on that, it does show up, when you play. So, rust, bounce back, hopefully, and then and move on.
Yeah, and they've hit this stretch here with kind of back-to-back teams that are really good.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing. I mean, you're playing really good teams gunning for you, just behind you in the standings. Like, that's a kind of a murderer's row of teams there heading into the break and now after it. And then on February 14th at Dallas, one of the really hot teams in the West, and they win it 3-2 in overtime. I really thought the Bruins played really, really well in this game. Like, I thought they were back to playing the way they had for much of the first half. Like, they were carrying play, they were forechecking, they had their skating legs. Like, they were really putting pressure. And Ottinger is an excellent goalie. He kept Dallas in it with some unbelievable saves.
Yeah.
And it was literally the Bruins giving up 2 goals on 2 defensive breakdowns, and like the only 2 defensive breakdowns they had. and the puck went in the net. But great first, only get the one goal from Hall. Good to see him get a goal. Could have easily had 3 or 4 there. Stars tilt the ice in the second, score a couple, and then take a 2-1 lead in the third. Bruins tie it on a great play by Carlo, and he feeds Zacha for the snipe. Marchand penalty in overtime, but the Bruins were able to kill it. Great work from Coyle and floorboard especially. Bruins win it with Zacha starting a rush from his own end. And then it was McAvoy finding Pastor across the way with a great cross-ice pass for the one-timer. And that was the ball game. Bruins get dominated at the dot, but somehow find a way. Pavel Zacha was terrific, especially in the third and OT. And Linus Ullmark was tremendous down the stretch in this one. He gave up a couple of leaky-ish goals, but as the game went on, got stronger. It was a big win against the best team in the West to start the siblings road trip.
Yes, the siblings are out there for the team, which is a nice little twist on, they've had the mom's trip and the dad's trip in previous years. So this is a nice little twist on that. It's good to see, so many of the Bruins, siblings out for that one. And they went nuts when Zacha scored, and then when Pastrnak scored, great shot of the Bruins box there in Dallas. So that was really cool. And a couple milestones for the Bruins in this one. Jim Montgomery picks up his 100th career victory, his 40th with the Bruins, and then the Bruins tie the record for the fewest games to 40 wins in NHL history. Only took them 53 games to get to 40 wins, and that's tied with the 15-16 Washington Capitals. So pretty impressive win against a really good team, and a nice way to start off that road trip, showing a little resiliency, getting down, and then battling back for the win.
Absolutely. And you mentioned the siblings road trip. I was seeing some of the photos and stuff on Instagram and such. And I'm telling you right now, I think my favorite was Charlie McAvoy's sister. I mean, she was kind of a cutie pie. It was really nice. So it's good that they have the siblings there on the trip. 7 Chirps time, sponsored by Lobs Brewing. Lobster Brewery and Tasting Room in downtown Woonsocket, Rhode Island, specializing in small batch ales and lagers, open 7 days a week. Use the coupon code SPORTS to get 10% off your online order. Go to Lobs Brewing on lobsbrewing.com on the website to order, and also Lobs Brewing at Lobs Brewing on social media for new beers and events. And chirp number 1, Swayman, with the start in the first game, coming back from the All-Star break, was that kind of strange to you?
It did seem weird to me. I fully expected it to be Ullmark in that one, but maybe they were saving Ullmark for the Dallas game, knowing that was going to be a big game to start the trip. So that's my only rationale behind it. Unless Ullmark was maybe nursing something, or they wanted Swayman was playing good before the break, so maybe they wanted to get him right back in there. I don't know. It did seem like a little bit of an odd decision to me, though.
Maybe Ullmark, because he was in the All-Star situation.
Oh yeah,
maybe an extra break, I guess. Yeah. But it was, and look, they only lost 2-1. I'm not going to put it all on Swayman, but I just thought it was sort of strange not to play your number 1 goalie to start the thing. But I guess that's probably what the rationale was. Chirp number 2: how much do the Bruins miss Jake DeBrusk?
Hugely. And who would have thought last year, or the year before that, you would say the Bruins really can't live without Jake DeBrusk in the lineup? You would have said you were crazy. But they do miss him. They miss him tremendously. They miss him on the power play. They miss him in the fact that someone else is skating on that top line, whether it's Craig Smith. Charlie Coyle was doing it last night a little bit in the Stars game. I mean, they were kind of moving things around there. Pastrnak obviously has been up there, but that shifts guys all up and down the lineup, and you lose a little bit of continuity. So I would like to see it with DeBrusk back in the lineup, and that way Hall can go back down to the third line, where I think he's more productive with Coyle and or Foligno and Frederick. I guess it's going to be Foligno with Frederick centering the fourth line with Nosek out. But I just feel like that's the best way for the Bruins to deploy their lines, and it gives Hall a better matchup where he can really drive the play and dominate against lesser defensemen.
Yeah, interesting foreshadowing coming up, because one of our chirps talks about Taylor Hall and where he should play. I think they do miss DeBrusk in that, and I think Marchand and Bergeron miss him. Marchand's not scored in 4 or 5 games now. So I think they do, and I'm sort of surprised at how much they do. But DeBrusque's been really good for second half of last season, and then the beginning of this season, like really good. Like, and he's a one guy. Just a few, a couple like him and Hall really that provide that really good speed. To really put some pressure on the defense. And once you start taking some of that speed away, then the Bruins really kind of struggle against some of these faster teams. So I think DeBrusque is a big loss, and it is funny how things have changed. And I'm glad he's turned into a really good NHL player, and he's on a great contract. So that's great too. All right, chirp number 3. Eastern Conference has 6 teams with better than 70 points. The West has just one. The East more top heavy, or is the West more balanced, or is the Eastern Conference just that much better?
Ooh, that's a little bit of a tough one. I think honestly, I think the Eastern Conference is just that much better. Like the Eastern Conference is loaded.
Yeah.
And the West has good teams, and I think it is more balanced there, but I think the East does have better teams. So I would say the East is maybe top heavy, and the West is balanced. But yeah, the East is better for sure.
Yeah, it helps that Colorado has been injured, banged up, so not quite as good. Minnesota has been up and down when I thought they'd be really good, not quite as good at times. And then you have that Edmonton, Calgary, that Pacific Division, Kings. I mean, everybody seems to be pretty good, but not super great. And I think you really have 4 or 5 Eastern Conference teams at least that are really good, like really, really good. So I think that's where they dominate the West there, and it's going to make for just an unbelievable postseason in the Eastern Conference for sure. And in the West, because the West will have a lot of parity if Colorado is still, banged up and not quite as good. All right, chirp 4. Is it time to put Hall back with Krejci? Last night he scored, but prior to that, 21 games, he was at 2 goals, 4 assists for 6 points. So he was lacking some production. I think he's been playing okay, but I really I agree with you on him being on the third line really creates a bad matchup for teams, but I also want him to be with a playmaking center. So I don't know what the drop. I mean, I don't know if what's more important, or what it's kind of a I don't know, six of one, half dozen the other, I guess. But I think that him with Krejci and Pasternak, I don't know. I still think you kind of go with that. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean it's a difficult call, especially since Zacha has been playing so well as of late also. So it creates kind of a competition among the players of who's going to be in that top 6, and that's not a bad thing to have. If you have a bunch of guys going, you can go with the hot hand. You can go with who's better on a particular night, and that's the depth that the Bruins have that they need to take advantage of. I think Hall honestly is better off on the third line. I think he wants the puck on his stick more. So I think having that ability to generate zone entries, where I think if he was on the same line as Krejci is really the one who wants the puck on his stick. So it's a little bit of a different a different animal. Hall has some more speed. Krejci likes to slow things down. I think Hall's at his best when he's using his speed to generate zone entries and so forth. So I think he's probably better off as a third liner, driving that entire line's play rather than being, not necessarily a passenger on the second line, but having Pasternak and Krejci kind of drive the play more, and he kind of picks up the scraps there. So that's what I would like to see, him on the third line. But you really can't go wrong with any kind of combination. With him and Zacha and Pasternak and Krejci, in that mix.
I've changed my mind on this. I really would like to see the Bruins get a quality third line forward, and if that involves a package with Frederick and something, then I would contemplate doing that. I don't love Frederick as a center. Like, I just don't. Like, He's back playing fourth line center. I don't love it. He was at his best third line winger with Coyle and Hall, Zacha. He was his best there. I just don't think he's a great center. I just don't. I don't think he's a good enough skater. I don't think he's great enough in his own end. He's not as great enough a face-off guy for sure. He's not as good as Nosek or Bergeron or Coyle and the Dot and Krejci, any of those guys. So I don't know. I just kind of want, and Smith isn't the guy. So I would really like a little bit of an upgrade there in the bottom six, like a veteran forward, just like a guy that can just play with, say, Coyle and Zacha. That's kind of what I'd like them to do, at the deadline. But I just have reservations about Frederick as fourth line center. And Nosek's been hurt and still hurt. So I don't know. And even before he was hurt, I think he could be upgraded there anyway. So I think that a little tweaking down the bottom six would be good for me. I don't know. All right, Trep 5. Are the Bruins waiting for a move to be made, or is it just the dog days of the season? They seem a little off lately.
Yeah, they do seem a little off lately, and I don't know if that's competition or if that's the size of the lead they generated, that it is the dog days of the season, or if they are waiting for a move to be made, waiting for the other shoe to drop. Guys tend to be a little bit on edge when that happens, and you get some guys who maybe are gripping the stick a little too tight or wondering if they are going to be around or not around. So I think that stuff can create a little bit of issues, and pucks, when that happens, pucks start to jump over sticks, so you're not scoring as well, you're not playing as freely as you usually would, thinking about, well, I could be moved, guys hearing their names in trade rumors. So you wonder if that's an issue, and if they'll start to kind of rebound or get all back together when either a move is made or once the trade deadline passes.
I think that I think it's the number one thing. I think the competition is getting a little stiffer. They hit a patch here of schedule that's really difficult. A lot of it was on the road. They seemed to play a lot of home games early. Obviously dominated at home. And then they hit this patch of Florida, Carolina, Toronto, Tampa Bay, now Dallas, Washington. They hit a lot of really good teams in a row. So I think that's part of it too. They lost to Brusque. They lost Nosek, getting a little banged up here and there. That's probably part of it too. They lost a lot of close games. Do you have any concerns about, I keep going, I don't know. Every time I hear anything from Jim Montgomery about what he's doing with the team and so forth, he seems to be really reliant on, we're just relying on the guys in the room. Do you have any thoughts on possibly, or any concerns that when the shit hits the fan, how will he be able to make proper adjustments, do the things that need to be done? Is it too much reliance on the veteran leadership?
We've talked about this a little bit. I don't think it's too much reliance on the veteran leadership. I think he is kind of leaning on them for sure. But I think when he needs to say something, when something needs to be addressed, I think he does that. But he's, I don't know, I'm not in the locker room, so I don't know if he's a screamer or yeller. It doesn't strike me as such. He strikes me as a guy who will get his point across, but he's not going to be throwing things around the locker room and so forth.
Right.
But he does, lean on the veteran leadership. That you saw in the Behind the B, Nick Foligno got up and talked to the group between the second and third periods. Obviously Bergeron's going to do that. Marchand's going to do that. McAvoy's going to do that. So I feel like, and to me, the best teams are the ones where the leadership of the team holds the people to standards and are the ones that kind of set the tone for the culture. You can't have a coach or a manager being the one that says, hey, we got to do this, guys. Eventually that message is going to fall on deaf ears. you can't be the one that holds everyone accountable. The leadership of the team needs to be the ones that hold the entire team accountable. You know, if Bergeron and Marchand are working towards a standard, you know, they're going to bring everybody with them because they don't want to be the ones to disappoint those guys. Or if they're working hard, you know, the Bergerons and the Marchands and the McAvoys are working hard, you know, that has to mean that the guys that are on the third and fourth line, or the AHL guys, when they come up, they have to work equally as hard, because you know, that's the level that's been set by that leadership group. So I think overall, he definitely leans on those guys, and with good reason, because I think when you're a really good team, you know, that's the people that the leadership of the team, the captains of the team, are the ones that kind of set the tone, and the coach will have to, you know, not fill in, but be a voice when he really, really needs to be a voice, and not all the time. Okay, so we're going to move on to chirp number 6, and that is the Bruins team speed an issue?
Huh. Is it?
Is the Bruins team speed an issue? Do you think so?
We seem to talk about this every season, don't we? Like that they just don't. I don't know. I mean, I watched them play last night, and they're forechecking like crazy. They're carrying the play. They're transitioning very quickly. I mean, they're an excellent transition hockey team. So speed. I mean, yeah, I don't. I think there's sometimes their defense has trouble handling the speed, but that's a combination of probably of personnel and the way the Bruins play. Like they put themselves in positions where they're really being aggressive offensively. They're prone to transition, you know, offense on the other side. Here's the thing: I think it was the last 4 or 5 games, I saw a stat. You know, they were allowing 12 high danger chances a game. That's a lot.
It
So
is.
some of that's the style they play, and some of that might be defensive, you know, personnel, I guess, or you know, I don't know. It seems to be when they're carrying the play, they're playing. It seems they're playing quickly. They're playing assertively. Like I don't see it being an issue. Like I don't think, boy, they're kind of a slow team. But when the other team's pressing, then I'm like, Jesus, they're kind of a slow team. Like I don't know what it is.
That's really my concern is like the races to pucks, and when you get into the playoffs against really good teams, and everything kind of amps up another level. You know, are they going to be able to win those races to pucks, whether it's in their defensive zone on a missed shot, or clearing a rebound, or getting the puck out of the zone? Do they have guys who can win those type of races? And it's a concern for me, just because when you watch teams like, you know, Carolina and Toronto forecheck you, you know, they can really, really hem you in. You know, teams like New Jersey has a ton of team speed. You know, that's a little bit of a worry for me. I think getting DeBrusk back certainly helps, because he's another guy who is fast. But you know, if you go up and down the forward group, the Bruins don't have much of it. They really don't. You
They
know,
don't.
it's Hall, it's, you know, maybe Zacha, it's maybe Marchand, it's DeBrusk, obviously. You know, maybe Craig Smith, but you know, overall, they really don't have a ton of team speed on the back end. You know, McAvoy, once he gets going, and Lindholm and Carlo can skate well, and Grzelcyk. But Forward's not a great skater. Clifton's, you know, fine. But overall, I think in their forward group, they don't have a lot of team speed, and I wonder if that's going to bite them come playoff time.
Yeah, I mean they're an older group, so they're like their centers are not fast.
Yeah.
That's number one. I mean, Bergeron, Krejci, Coyle, Frederick, not a fast group. So that could be where it hurts, for sure. And I still worry about injuries on an older group too. You know, guys who are coming back from surgeries last season. You know, who knows what could happen when the playoffs start to hit in the you know, playing every other night in the physicality. So that's an issue too. But I feel like we always talk about this, and I feel like until the nucleus has really changed with this team, you're always going to have that are they fast enough argument with them. All right, and then trip number 7, is Sweeney a genius the Pavel Zacha trade and extension for what looks like very affordable money is looking better and better every day.
It certainly is. And I'll tell you,
Oh boy.
since he signed the extension, Pavel Zacha has 7 goals, 5 assists, 12 points in 11 games. So that's the 5th most 5-on-5 goals over that time. And he's like 25th in points over that time. So and he's really just seems to be coming into his own. He's really, playing with good players. He seems to have confidence. He can shoot the puck. Damn, can he shoot the puck?
He can.
So, it does. It looks like a genius move. He flipped Eric Haula for Pavel Zacha and got him to sign a reasonable extension. I mean, I think he is
a great trade.
Sweeney's, right?
Yeah, great trade. I mean, 6 years younger.
Yeah.
Can play wing and center just like Haula could, but has obviously potential. His ceiling is not. He's not at his ceiling.
No.
As a 25-year-old player, very high IQ player. He rang the post in the first period, a wicked shot. Like, man, that's like 3 inches to the left. It's in.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been terrific. And you always worry, right, about guys who sign extensions, if they'll get a little comfortable, if you see a dip in production because they're not really playing for that contract kind of thing. So that's always kind of it's always kind of a little bit of a concern, especially the guy you don't know that well. And then he comes in and he's just guns blazing, and he can be second line center next year for sure. So now you just need to go out and get a really good center to go with him. And but now I don't have much reservation about him being a really good second line center next year. Which is great.
And here's the other thing, which is great about it is he's getting better every year. So I look back at his stats, and he's either tied or bettered his point total in every single year of his career.
Right.
So from one year to the next, it's gotten better and better, or even every single year. So I mean, he's definitely still on the upswing. So that that's good to see.
Absolutely. All right, Beauties and Benders, and the 3 benders for this week. Number 3, Hampus Lindholm.
Gonna love you, eh? They're gonna be loving you from dawn until dusk.
Ties his career high in points in a single season with the Hall assist. He's up to 34 points. And I still think he's kind of on the bottom side of like the Norris consideration still.
Yeah, I mean, he's had a great year. I mean, it's going to be hard to overlook guys like Fox and Carlson and Darlene in Buffalo,
right?
Who are all having fantastic seasons. But I mean, he definitely carried the Bruins early in the season on the back end when they needed him to most. So he's been a very, very valuable player for them. A 1A or 1B to McAvoy for sure.
All right, beauty number 2, Jim Montgomery.
Gonna love you, eh? They're gonna be loving you from dawn until dusk.
100th coaching victory from Monty. Really good milestone for him. His second head coaching stint, and 40 wins with the Bruins.
Yeah, impressive. I mean, just ever since he's come in here, he's kind of changed the not necessarily the culture because it was already there, but kind of the vibe around the team and the way the guys play. The system obviously has certainly helped them out a tremendous amount. So congratulations to Monty on a job well done, and hopefully many, many more.
Oh, hopefully many more. And then beauty number 1, Pavel Zacha.
Gonna love you, eh? They're gonna be loving you from dawn until dusk.
Again, he was just dynamic in the third and overtime versus Dallas. Set a new career high in points. He has 37 points in 53 games.
Yeah, he's just having he's having an unbelievable year. And as we just mentioned, signed the extension and has been, white hot since he did that, and really just kind of coming into his own here as he's entering the prime of his career with the Bruins. So hopefully, those point totals continue to rise.
No, you see the last 3. What is it? The last 3 deadlines you had Hall, you had Lindholm, and you have Zacha. Well, he had Zacha not this deadline, but he had Zacha in the offseason. Mm-hmm. So the last 3 like big trades he's made, Sweeney, have all been like slam dunk wins, like going away wins.
Yeah, and you got Coyle and Johansson.
Right.
I don't know if it was the year before that or the year before that, but
right. That was a 19 run. Yeah.
Yeah, he's done really, really well the last few deadlines for the Bruins. So hopefully that continues this year, and they pick up some depth help here, and maybe a stud defenseman or something like that.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Yeah.
All right, so we're going to move into the Benders, and Bender number 3 is the Bruins power play.
Bender.
Over the last 20, they need to shake things up, or maybe it's as simple as getting Jake DeBrusk back.
That's a decent point. But boy, does any team have as many hills and valleys with their power play than the Boston Bruins? Like, they can look great and they can look absolutely downright abysmal for like the last 12 years. Like, it just seems like they're either really, really good when they were third in the league, or they're really, really bad when they can't do anything right. And I wonder if they just rely too much on a couple of different things, bumper, one-timer. Is there just too much reliance? Are they too one-dimensional? Are teams taking away one or two good things and seeing if you can score in other ways? And last year it was zone entry. And this year it just seems to be like they're just not getting, high danger chances, and the power play just not getting, it's just not balanced enough.
Yeah, I think the zone entries are an issue last year. They're still an issue this year. I think they make terrible decisions with the puck when they're trying to enter the zone. I think they have too many guys who try to pass the puck through people rather than making the easy play. And I think that's what the problem is overall when they struggle. It's that they don't play simple and they don't go with what's there. They still try to force plays to the bumper or to Pastrnak for the one-timer, or to do it themselves to get a zone entry, where if they just pass the puck to the open guy, you have plenty of talent. Like, just because, you have the puck doesn't mean you need to be the guy who gets the primary assist. Pass it to another guy who can pass the puck just as well as you, and he'll get it to the guy who will score the goal. There's plenty of guys out there that can score goals and do the things you need to do. They have plenty of talent. They might have too much talent. Might be what the problem is everybody thinks they can do it, which is great, but also maybe a curse at the same time. So they need to figure some things out there. It feels like the last power play goal they scored was during the Winter Classic when DeBrusk scored on the low play. It feels like that was the last one. I don't think it was, but it feels like it was.
Yeah, it does feel like that was a month and half and a half ago. Yeah, that's true.
So, okay, here we go. Bender number 2 is Bruins faceoffs.
Bender.
They got dominated in the faceoff.
Oh my God, did they ever? I've never seen anything like this
game. And I've never seen anything like it. So rare to see them get dominated like that. They lost 50 of 62 draws, and somehow still won. I mean, you're chasing the puck so often in that situation. It's amazing to me that they were able to win this game losing that many faceoffs.
Me too. And they dominated large portions of the game without winning any faceoffs, which is just to win 12 out of 62 is just poor. Like, it's really bad.
I think Bergeron won 5 or 6, something like that, maybe.
At one time, he was 3 of 20.
I don't know if there was anyone else on he might have finished with 6 or 7. I'm not sure there was anyone else on the team that won more than 2.
Yeah, I mean,
which is dreadful.
And you're talking about, Nosek is out, who's a decent face-off guy. And you're talking about Coyle and Bergeron being in the 60s, Coyle being in the high 50s for much of the year. Like, you're talking about centers who can win face-offs. Yeah, and they just got completely dominated by the Stars in an eye-opening fashion. And it might just be one of those one-offs where they saw some film and they saw something on it, and hopefully the Bruins can clean that up. I'm sure they're watching it, because you can't look at that stat and not say we need to do something about that, or see why that happened, because it's so out of bounds. So, but yeah, that was really, really odd.
Yeah, it was. And the number 1 Bender is Zachary Leroux.
Bender.
He was suspended 10 games by the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League for an incident with a fan. He was trying to jab them with a stick after the fan said the Halifax Mooseheads suck. He tried to poke him or spear him with a stick. He is a Predators first-round draft pick in 2021, 27th overall. And this Halifax Mooseheads player has been suspended 9 times.
9 times.
9 times.
And you made a great point before we went on air. Only 27 total games. How can you be a repeat offender over and over and still only get a total of 27 games? And this one's 10.
Yeah,
right?
It's shocking to me.
It's shocking.
In 3 seasons, he's been suspended 9 times.
Right.
So it's not like he's been in junior, since he was 12.
Right.
He's been there for 3 years.
Right.
And suspended 9 times. That's 3 a year for those of you that can do the math.
Yeah. No.
So that's, you want to talk about Marchand being a pest, or some other guys out there who have some run-ins with NHL player safety. This is, how is that guy still in the league? Honestly,
I don't know. And to be a first round pick, boy, you got to kind of clean that up, don't you?
I think you do.
I mean, my God, like his 27th overall pick, he's obviously a top prospect for the Preds. Like they're obviously banking on him to be a pretty good NHL player.
Yeah.
Let's not get suspended every other game.
Yeah, his discipline's got to be a problem for him on the old draft analysis there.
Yeah, and hey, good news for him. No one in Tennessee gives a shit about hockey, so they're not going to say like the Predators suck or anything. So he's not going to have any fan problems. So that's good. That's really good. All right, Bruins Benders power rankings for this week, and number 7 entering now, brand new entry. New York Rangers. They added Vladimir Tarasenko, and they've won 5 in a row. Look out for the Rangers. That's a tough opponent coming playoff time. Number 6, Dallas dropped the spot. They just lost to Boston, 4-2-4 in the last 10. Number 5, Toronto dropped the spot. They lost their last game. And then a new entry at 4, Tampa Bay Lightning are hard as a firecracker, 3 in a row, have the pedigree, have the experience. And, there'll be something to reckon, and if it's a Tampa Bay Toronto series again in the first round, I am hoping for that with all my might.
Me too.
Because that would be such a good series because
Absolutely.
Toronto, getting bounced last year and they really need to get past it. And this is going to be like, they need to get past Tampa Bay, to finally break that curse. And that would be such a great series.
Mm-hmm.
Number 3, New Jersey Devils are 7-1-2 in their last 10. Carolina Hurricanes still white hot, 8-1-1 in their last 10. And then Boston, number 1, again, they're 48-5, and they are tied for the quickest ever to 40 wins with the 15-16 Caps.
Yeah, unbelievable really season continues on for the Bruins. But like we talked about earlier, the East is loaded. I mean, you just read off the 7. And there's 6 teams from the East in Dallas, so it's not going to be it's not going to be an easy road through the playoffs in the Eastern Conference for any of these teams.
Right. And I didn't have Pittsburgh or Washington in there either. Like there's a lot of good teams.
Yeah, certainly is. All right, so we're going to move on to the Bruins Benders Bedard Tankapalooza, and the 30 and 31st teams. You can throw them in a hat. Shitting it doesn't matter. 36 and 37 points doesn't matter which team has which, but we are talking about Chicago and Columbus. Those teams actually know how to tank, are doing it properly, losing the games, looking at trading off a lot of their talent. Columbus has mentioned getting rid of Gavrikov, possibly Boone Jenner is on the list, with Chicago, Kane, Taves, both possibilities. So teams looking to dump players and win that Bedard lottery. And then coming in at number 32, your Montreal Canadiens. They have 50 points, but they've won 3 in a row. And they don't really understand what they're supposed to be doing right now. I don't
How
think.
did they win 3 in a row? Jesus.
Yeah. So, Caulfield's out for the season, and here they are trying to win games. Not sure why, but they're trying to win games, and they're climbing up out of the basement where the Bedard sweepstakes is located. So if they want to do anything correctly, they need to get back on that losing streak. But I'm fine if they want to be a middling team and not get Connor Bedard. I'd be perfectly fine with him not going to the Canadiens and tormenting the Bruins for years and years to come.
Marty St. Louis might be too good of a coach. I mean, they might have to fire him.
I think so. That's a possibility.
14 points out of last. I mean, that's they need to get going on the losing streak.
Yeah.
All right, prospect spotlight in your Bruins prospect this week. Trevor Kuntar. He is with the Boston College Eagles. They just won the consolation game of the Beanpot. And Trevor is having a great season. He's a junior at BC. He has 11 goals and 11 assists on the season. He has 5 goals and 2 assists in his last 10. He had the empty netter in the consolation win over Boston University. And Kuntar is a center. He's about 205 pounds. He's kind of a fire hydrant kind of player. And hopefully he can be a bottom 6 kind of guy in another year or two.
Yeah, I think so. He's a scrappy guy. He goes to the front of the net. He reminds me a little bit of a Brendan Gallagher type, where he's just in and around the front of the net, just causing havoc, just being a pain in the ass to play against. You know, it wouldn't hurt the Bruins to have another one of those competitive guys who likes to get to the front and score the greasy goals. So
no doubt. Yeah.
Looking forward to seeing Trevor in a Bruins uniform in a few years here.
Yeah. Trevor is 21 years old from Buffalo. He is 6 foot, like 205, like I said, center and a wing. He was the 3rd round pick in 2020, 89th overall by your Boston Bruins. So hopefully Kuntar with his teammates, Andre Gasso and Oscar Jelvik on BC, all doing pretty well this season for the Eagles. All right, week ahead for Boston, February 16th at Nashville, February 18th versus the New York Islanders at home, and then February 20 versus the Ottawa Senators at home at TD Garden. That's what's coming up this week for the Bruins. Go to InsideTheRink.com for Bruins Benders merchandise. Follow us at Bruins Benders on social media. Please rate and review on Apple and subscribe and follow on the podcast platforms, and sign up for ESPN Plus at InsideTheRink.com/ESPN. We just surpassed 50,000 downloads, and we appreciate everyone listening. Have a great week, everyone. Go Bruins.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Whoa, Black Betty, bam, lamb, whoa, Black Betty.